Episode number 42 of Making the Case. Why men care about your past and women care about your future. Let's get it. Hey, what up? What up? What's up? Okay. I couldn't help myself. I just had to do it. All right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Making the Case. I'm your host, yours truly, Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur, content creator, a little bit of everything, man. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. So I got another great episode for you today. Episode number 42. Soon we'll have season 2 that is coming upon us very, very soon. I got, some slight changes coming up, so I'm excited about that. Hopefully you are too. Okay. But as always, our two channel norms is one, we attack points and not people. And then two, we don't do all the cussing and derogatory stuff because we professional over here. Okay. So let's get into our opening statement. As I say in the opener, today's episode is why men care about your past and women care about your future. Now, you may have heard of this, do I want to say rhetoric? Or this ideology from other podcasts and content creators and things of that nature. But what they often don't do is break down why that is the case. Why men do care about your past and women care about your future. Okay. They stay surface level. But of course, over here on Making the Case, what we do is we like to dig a little deep. We like to break things down for you. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this episode. But for starters, to get things kind of going, men care about your past because that will dictate whether or not we will have a long-term relationship or not, whether or not that woman will be loyal, whether or not her promiscuity will impact, because there have been plenty of studies that show that when women have a lot of partners, then it's less likely that she will remain in a long-term relationship. Okay. And vice versa when it comes to women and men. Well, women wants a man that can provide for her and protect her, and him having goals and him being successful at that moment will kind of signal that, well, maybe he will continue to be successful because I already know he's at a successful place right now, versus getting a man that kind of is on the rise. Women prefer a man that's already there. Okay. Now we know it changes with age, right? So a young woman, well, that's what goes into why young women like older men, right? Because they're already settled, they're stable, or at least more stable than young men, right? So that's kind of the difference, right? I was explaining to somebody earlier today. Well, women typically understand why they are attracted to older men, but on the flip side, women have to understand that's why men are attracted to younger women. They're more fertile. They're more likely to listen, more likely to be submissive. They're moldable, right? An older woman is more likely, she's stubborn, right? Not all, of course, but she's already stuck in her ways. She done been through a lot of, dysfunction and trauma, so that will come up. So it's a lot of different reasons, right? But what we're gonna do in this episode, we're gonna stick to why men prefer, or I should say, why men care about a woman's past and why women care about a man's future. Okay, we're gonna stick to that topic and we're gonna break down for you. Of course, I got 3 pieces of evidence. Actually, I think I have a fourth piece of evidence for you. Um, so we got 4 pieces of evidence that I want to show you to break down why that is the case. So we're gonna look at scientifically. Okay. That's what we do. We either look at it scientifically or historically, and a lot of times both. All right. So, without further ado, let's get into our first piece of evidence. All right. So, for my first piece of evidence, what we're going to do, we're going to focus on why men care about a woman's past. Okay. So, I have an article from Psychology Today. You already know this is one of my favorite platforms. Um, have really great articles. And this is called "Too Many Lovers, Too Little Love." Well, taking a lover today make it hard to be happy with a spouse tomorrow. Okay. So without further ado, let's just get into it and see what this is talking about. When you start a new relationship, do you care if your new love has slept with 1, 10, 100 people in the past? Yes, men do. Maybe not women, but men do. All right. If the answer to that question is yes, then how about this? When deciding today whether or not to have a casual sexual relationship, do you weigh the benefits of that relationship against the cost in terms of how it might affect any future committed relationships? I don't think most people do, to be honest with you. We're on thinking, man, okay, I got to ration out who I have sex with. I would tell you that most men don't. Now, I will say that most women do because they understand that their sex or their value is tied to sex. I think a lot of women understand that, okay, which is the reason why they don't like to disclose how many sexual partners they've had. All right. In theory, at least, driving up your bedfellow count while you are single could reduce the quality of relationship you have when you eventually settle into a more serious long term relationship. When searching for a partner with whom to have a serious relationship, the size of your market is restricted by the availability of people who are looking for someone just like you. You only get to choose a partner from the pool of people who want someone who is your age, attractiveness, occupation, sexual orientation, etc. Just like you, everyone else has the idea of what they are looking for in a partner, and unfortunately, your market is somewhat limited because you personally will fail to meet the criterion set by most other single people, particularly if you're a male, right? If you're a male that is um, not successful, not attractive, because most men are not attracted to women eyes, right? You hear women go on social media and talk about it all the time, right? So, um, in a lot of women eyes, their pool for men is very small, which is the reason why a lot of them have babies by the same group of men, and the reason why they go after the same group of men. Okay, so this kind of speaks to that. Uh, this is just the unfortunate reality of life on the singles market, which is so different today. Some of the personal quality that take us off other singles must have lists are things we can do nothing about. Some are things we wouldn't change even if we could, like our political or religious views. And some are things we might be willing to change if doing so was worth the increase in the size of the market, like quitting smoking or losing weight. Those would be two things that people should be doing, right? Sexual history is an interesting personal quality in that it is both a choice and once done is beyond our control. We don't write about it on our online dating profile, but it is a quality that many people care about when looking for a husband or wife. It is a quality that has the power to influence the size of our individual marriage market, and as a result, the probability that we'll eventually find long-lasting love. Let me illustrate this market size effect with an example. As Men recently conducted their 2013 Great Male Survey. If we presume that those survey results reflect the views of all men, which is unlikely, but this is just an example, then the woman number of past sexual partners will limit her market as follows. So this is a study that they did showing you how a woman having a bunch of sexual partners will limit her sexual marketplace value. Okay. And of course, nothing is absolute, right? But most men feel this way. Okay. Let's get into it. A woman who has more than 100 past sexual partners will only have access to the 25% of men who do not care about her sexual history. Now, this is not saying that, remember, we're talking about marriage, long term relationship, right? This is not saying that they wouldn't sleep with them. Because now we know, right? Because the reason why they get 100 sexual partners because men are sleeping with them. We're talking about putting a ring on the finger, long-lasting relationship. A woman with between 20 and 100 past sexual partners will have access to the further 8% of men who only care about her sexual history once her number of sexual partners exceeds 100. A woman with between 10 to 20 past partners will have access to a further 19% of men who only care about her sexual history once her number of sexual partners exceeds 20. A woman with between 1 and 10 past partners will have access to a further 39% of men. Then a woman with no past sexual partner will have access to uh, the final 9% who care whether she has more than one sexual partner. I would say if she a virgin, most men will want that. Well, yes, most men will want that. There's still some men that will like a woman to have a little bit of experience, right? But so by choosing to have, say, 33 past sexual partners, a woman potentially would have eliminated 66% of men on the market for a committed relationship. And you already know it's women are racking up bodies out here. I just hate to say it, but it's the truth. I don't have any data that directly bears on how a man's sexual history might limit his marriage market, which, even though there might not be no data on it, we know very little, right? But I think it would be a mistake to assume that women do not care about a potential love intersexual history, especially if she is concerned about his ability to be a faithful partner in the long run. Now, it's not that women don't care, right? It's just not at the total as far as picking a partner. We know what's at the top. Okay. Attractiveness, money, okay, height, things of that nature. The problem with making decisions that lead to smaller markets is that smaller markets often lead to lower quality relationships. There is some recent evidence that the number of past sexual partners a married person reports is negatively correlated with their self-reported happiness in their marriage. So literally how many people they have sex with leads to whether or not they're going to be happy. Because you have to think about it. If you used to being with different people and now you're being with this one person, that one person may not satisfy you. I think a lot of people who are promiscuous, and this both men and women, are after the thrill of it. They love the newness. Okay. And that's why now it's getting more and more difficult to be in long-term relationship. And actually, I'm done reading that because that's all I want to show you was that. But the whole idea of women having so many sexual partners, it's going to hurt her ability to have a long-term relationship. Okay. So that's why men care about a woman's past. And if we end up having a child with you, now we're questioning it. So paternity is a huge issue for us as well. So this is the main reason why and the thing about it is nowadays people are not asking, some people are, how many people you slept with, or nowadays, they say, what's your body count, right? You can just tell how a woman moves, right? So there's certain questions that you can ask. There's certain things after you've been around a woman for a long time. What type of activities do she enjoy, right? Those are things that put you hip on whether or not she's promiscuous or not. Okay. And maybe I need to do another video on that. Please put in the comments if that's what you would like. Okay. So we're going to move on to our second piece of evidence. All right. So for my second piece of evidence, we're going to switch gears and we're going to go why women think about the future as it relates to men. So I have an article from Forbes. Forbes slick be dropping some jewels, man, in their articles, man, because they just don't deal with money. Well, a lot of it be tied to money, right? But they kind of go pretty deep with their articles. So I'm starting to really vibe with Forbes. So the title of this article is Why and How Women Must Prepare Differently for the Future. So it's going to break down why women think about the future as it relates to their dating strategies or dating options. All right. So let's get into it. As a financial coach, I choose to work specifically with women because I know that women's financial situation is different from men's. I'm passionate about pay inequality, reproductive right, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and the investment gap. I also know that women think about and use their money differently than men do. But how do all these things affect women's lives and future for the long term? And yes, that is true. Women spend more than men. That's why a lot of advertising and marketing is geared towards women because they know women spend more than men. So, with that being in mind, if we know that women spend more money than men, that means that it is more likely that they're going to try to partner up with somebody to help them when it comes to their finances. All right. Because, of course, nowadays, a lot of women are raising kids by themselves and sometimes without the man financial backing. So that's why it's ever so important to partner up and link up with a man. Now, a lot of women will say, well, I don't need no man, I'm independent, things of that nature, right? That's just a coping mechanism, right? So not only do they need that man for protection, they need that man for provision and not just financially. All right. Let's keep reading. Uh I recently spoke with Lisa Murgason. I hope I didn't butcher her name too much. Head of retirement client experience and communication at Bank of America, America Lynch. We talked about the findings in Merrill Lynch report, Women in Financial Wellness Beyond the Bottom Line. Based on the report findings in my conversation with Lisa, I'll tell you why and how women need to plan for their future differently than men do. Women live longer. On average, women live at least 5 years longer than men do. This means that women would need more money and more health care. This also means that many women will end up single at the end of their lives, supporting themselves. By age 85, women outnumber men 2 to 1, and 81% of centenarians are women. That's crazy. So most people that make it to 100, 81% are women. That is an insane stat. All right. 2/3 of women hope to live to be 100 years old, but most of these women are also afraid of running out of money during their lifetime. That's why it's ever so crucial for women to partner up. All right. They're going to live longer. Not only are they're going to live longer, they're going to be taking care of kids more so than men are. So that's why it's important for women. They want to make sure that they get with a man that is financially capable, financially stable, financially sound. All right. So we're gonna move to the next one, which is um women earn and save less. I'm sure you heard of the wage gap, which by the way is false. I don't know if they're gonna get into this. It means that on average, women earn 20% less than men do for the same work. Well, that's because men typically work longer hours. Men don't take maternity leave. See, they often don't address those facts. I'm sure it was the woman who wrote this article. No disrespect. All right. Because they often leave out all those things, right? The gap gets much worse for women of color, some earning up to 50% less than men. And this wage gap doesn't only affect women while they are working, it follows them throughout their lifetime by contributing to the investment gap. So, yes, it is true that on average, women earn less than men, but like I said, it's other factors that they often don't bring up. So, unless somebody tells you. Due to earning less, women are saving and investing less as well. This means that they accumulate less in their retirement accounts than men do. By earning less, you're contributing less, your employer is matching less, and you're earning less interest. By the time women reaches retirement age, she will earn over 40,000 less than a man. So that is typically why a woman needs to couple up with a man. She's not saving as much, she's not earning as much, she's living longer. All right. All those different factors. So, which plays into the part of why a woman is looking at a man for one of the main reasons is financial. Now, I would tell you that most women are probably not thinking about all these different factors. But biologically, what they understand is I want a man to help me, whether it's with her kids or whether it's with her life, leading her, guiding her, teaching her. All right. Let's see what else they talk about. Women careers are interrupted more often. The wage gap cannot be explained away by women taking time off to raise children, even though some people try to use that argument. Well, it's true. I don't know. It's true. Didn't mention again that men work long hours. Men work more difficult labor jobs, which tend to pay more. Men are in the STEM field more than women. See, they leave all that out. Can't stand it. However, women are still the primary caregiver in American households. Shockingly, women spend 44% of their lives out of the workforce for various reasons, compared to that of men who spend 28%, right? That could be for health or any number of reasons, right? Having a baby. Oh, let's see what else they talk about. And it looked like that's it. All right. So this is the reason why women tend to care about a man's future, right? Due to the fact that all these factors that I just mentioned to you, okay? So they understand that, and let's just be real. There's a segment of women, a population of women that don't want to work much or if at all, right? That's why you usually hear of a sugar baby or a kept woman and things of that nature, right? Because the work ethic and the drive for success, the purpose, I covered this in a couple of videos ago. Like, women don't have to have a purpose. All right. So a lot of times they will get with a man to help cover that financial load. But on the flip side, why you hear so many women say I'm independent, I don't need no man, is because they talking about finances, right? But what typically ends up happening, they typically end up being uh, single for an extended period of time or throughout their life. And now all this plays out, right? They're not working because of their health. They're not working because they're going through emotional or mental issues and things of that nature, right? So it all plays a factor. All right. So I have a bonus piece of evidence to this that I want to get into because I thought it was interesting. So let's get into that. All right, so let's get into my bonus piece of evidence. This kind of speaks to why women care more about the future than men do. Um, and this is just an article that just talk about like why people should be thinking about the future and why women might be geared towards, you know, as much as they think about the future, I don't think their foresight is always there, right? And that's just for most people in general, right? Most people think in hindsight versus foresight. But I thought this was an interesting article by the Association for Psychological Science. And the title of it, New Study Explains Why the Future is More Important Than the Past. So let's get into it and see what they're talking about. All right. Uh, with all due respect to history teachers, people generally give events that have yet to come more valuable or that have yet to come more value than those that have already happened. This way of thinking is far from illogical. The future is never certain and can always change, whilst the past remains the same. And I think this is the reason why a lot of people don't care about the past, to be honest with you. But some new experiments show that people tend to place more value on events in the future, even when it's completely irrational. In their series of experiments, psychologist Eugene Caruso of Graduate School of Business of the University of Chicago, Daniel Gilbert of Harvard University, and Timothy Wilson of the University of Virginia conducted a series of experiments showing increased emotion when events in the future were considered. All the experiments involved participants imagining themselves performing an action, either in the past or the future. One scenario had participants imagine they were hired to input information to a computer for 5 hours before being asked how much they should be paid for the job and how difficult the job was or was going to be. Other scenario had participants decide how much a woman should win in her lawsuit against the drunk driver who hit her and how expensive a bottle of wine they should get for a friend who had let them or was going to let them stay at his vacation house for a week. The first scenario was changed in another experiment to involve a random person doing a computer job, and the participant had to decide how much this person would earn. A final experiment involved a real situation where a participant had either just finished their winter break or about to start it. In this experiment, participants had to answer what they did or were going to do and how much they would pay to extend their winter break. The results of these and their other experiments appear in the August issue of Psychological Science, a journal of the Association for Psychological Science. In all the experiments, participants will place more value on the event in the future, even if the exact same event happened in the past. Let's see. The researchers found it important for understanding valuation of the past and the future, apart from their many practical implications as well. Our studies show that people value events in the future more than they value equivalent events in the equidistant past. That they do so even when they consider this asymmetry irrational. And that one reason why they make these asymmetrical valuations that contemplating future events produces greater effect than does contemplating past events, the researcher wrote, which makes sense, right? Is that, well, if you focus too much on the past, then it's not changing. So why am I really worried about that? Versus is, well, let me think about the present right now so that I can maybe alter my future. So, I mean, it makes sense, right? Even though I would say learning from the past and understand what went into the past can help your future or your present, which can also help your future. That's just kind of how I looked at it. While building fish on the sun, the research also showed the possible advantage one can have by establishing the value of something before an event has happened. Most importantly, the study has shown how valuation of the past and future can affect a person's decision about himself and others, right? So thinking about the past and the future, I think will put things in perspective, right? And so when it comes to men thinking about the past and women thinking about the future, now once they get together, you kind of have that balance, right? So you have a situation where one is like, okay, man, let me look at it from this angle. Okay, this is what happened. What I need to do. Well, the other one's like, well, we got this in 2 weeks, right? But if you put them together, they can exist in harmony. But when they're separate, and that's kind of what hurts us when we remain single, right? Men and women are meant to be together to provide that balance. I've already done that video for you, all right? So I just want to share that study with you because I thought it was interesting, okay? But let's move on to our third piece of evidence and wrap this on up. And so why men care about your past and women care about your future, all right?
We care about legacy, we care about paternity. So we want to ensure that you're not sexually promiscuous, even including in your past, because that can affect the present and the future, and thus my paternity. And so guys care about sexual fidelity. Women, on the other hand, they understand that they have to be taken care of, their offspring has to be taken care of, and when the woman gets older and she's no longer fertile, she'll live another 50, 60, 70 years. So she needs a lot of protection and investment, like provisioning, resource investment from that guy, which is why she's also looking for status, wealth, influence, all that kind of stuff. If he's charismatic, that means you're good in social situations, but also you're seasoned and experienced with women. Thus, other women like you. So you've been pre-selected by other women, and therefore this woman also likes you because if you've been selected by other women, there must be something positive about you. We care about legacy. We care about paternity. So we want to ensure that you're not sexually promiscuous.
So there you have it. That was my piece of evidence number 3, and I'm just gonna wrap up with my closing statement by saying that if we was to really sum it up, we're talking about the reason why men care about a woman past is because of sexual promiscuity, right? We want to make sure that our woman is not out there giving her body away to a whole bunch of different men. Because if we find ourselves in a social situation, we don't want to be ridiculed. We don't want to be laughed at and made fun of because of our woman's past. And then on the flip side, when it comes to a woman has to make sure that she protects herself financially. If she has kids by that man, she want to make sure that her kids going to be well taken care of. And a lot of it is trauma that happened in their childhood, right? They don't want their kids to go through the same thing that they went through. So they want to make sure that moving forward in the future, that they can be taken care of, they can be stable, and that man is going to be the leader and provisioner and protector that she needs him to be. Okay. So that is the gist of the reason why I think the pieces of evidence spoke pretty clearly about that. Hopefully, it made sense to you. And we're going to wrap this episode up. All right. So you already know what I'm about to say. You can get my merch and my books. The link's going to be in the description. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, man. Just go on and do that. Share it, like, comment, whatever you want me to make a case of. Let me know, man. I'm going to leave my socials. All right. Just hit me up. All right. Hey, as always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. And I think